did you get here? Well, sorry, I wasn't expecting this. Well, howdy. It's Brother Justin. Welcome to my porch, but as you can see, I'm not on the porch today. It's kind of an unfortunate and rainy and gloomy day outside, so I'm sitting in the living room of the brothers just right outside our chapel. And I'm sitting here and I was reflecting on a parable. So, I'm not sure, I don't think I went over this with you in class, but if you have not heard the parable of the Good Samaritan. In reply, Jesus said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. And then a priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine, then put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper, and said, look after him. He said, and when I return, I will reimburse you. And I'm sitting here, I was reflecting on this, and it reminded me of that one time I was sitting on a couch talking to Mr. Rafa. Huh. Like JKOOL. You get what I mean, man?
Funny.
It's cray-cray.
You know, that actually reminds me of this one kid that was excited to go to his first Red Sox game at Fenway Park, but he had an incident before the game.
Really?
Like right before he left his house to go to the park. It was...
Why don't you tell me about it?
Yeah, you're walking along.
Give me all your money. Give me your money. Give me your money.
What money, bro?
Ah! Ah!
No! Ah!
Need help? Oh wait,
Yeah.
you're a Red Sox fan? Ah, forget it.
Oh my gosh, sir! Sir, do you need some help?
Yes.
Do you need toilet paper? Or what do you need bandages? Oh, wait, you're a Red Sox fan. Can't help you, I wasn't doing that.
Sir, do you need help?
Yes.
Sir, come on. Come with me. I got you. Don't put too much weight on your leg. Come on. Hi.
Yes, hello.
Is this the inn? Is this the inn?
This is the inn.
Sir, here's all my money.
Oh,
Take this. I
okay.
need you to take care of him.
He doesn't
I
have,
have to leave.
he doesn't have Corona, does he?
He does not have corona. He got beat up.
All right, come here, sir.
Come on.
Come here.
Anything else? If you need anything else, I'll be back later, and I'll help pay for the rest.
All right.
You just take care of him, okay?
Will do.
Thank you.
Sir. Mhm.
Wow, that was a great memory of sitting on the couch with Mr. Rafa. Very vivid. Definitely some Inception stuff going on there. Anywho, so I want to return to this, and I want to pose to you the first 2 questions. You might remember from class, what is the greatest commandment? And I can already see Keegan, Emilio, and Nicholas, and Lucia raising their hands at this, because y'all are such great students, as is everyone else in class. And the simple answer is this: to love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind. Now, what was the second greatest commandment? Okay, I see people scratching their heads, and Gio is raising his hand like crazy right now. And it's simple as this: to love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. We love ourselves a whole lot, so that's a whole lot of love to share with each other. So the parable and the story of Mr. Rafa can be summed up in one sentence, I think. Love our neighbor by helping anyone who is in need. See, in Jesus' time, every Jewish person knew the commandment, or they knew the command, love your neighbor as yourself. And when a man asked Jesus who exactly was meant by neighbor, this man is trying to get out of his responsibilities. And by telling the parable of the Samaritan, who helped this complete stranger, Jesus is making it plain and simple that any person who is in need is our neighbor. So that means whoever needs help is the person we should care and give our help to. Just like in Mr. Rafa's story, if you recall, how he was beat up, he was robbed, and two people, a St. Louis Cardinals fan just completely walked past him, a Baltimore Orioles fan, don't know who that guy was, looked like he was going to help him for a moment. Then once he saw that he was a Red Sox fan, he completely backed away and said he didn't want anything to do with that. But then the third person comes along, and doesn't matter what differences are, he helps that person. And that's the essence of this. Putting aside our differences, seeing people as God would see each other. And that's the essence of the Good Samaritan, is we should see others as God sees us, and how we see ourselves. So my questions for you, my challenges for the week for reflection are these. How can you be a Good Samaritan in your community? In other words, how can you help people around your house or your neighborhood? How can you be a Good Samaritan to people you do not know? I guess you know people in your house. But how can you be present to people in your community? All around the city of Dayton, we have seen people coming together, all walks of life, to help each other out through extraordinary means. Volunteering at shelters, helping people clean up their yards, helping the elderly. We have seen great examples. How can you be a piece of that puzzle? My second question, how does this action reflect the love of God? How does being a Good Samaritan to somebody reflect God's love? And lastly, how can you try to see others as God sees us? These are my questions for the week, and I will see you next week. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of On the Porch with Brother Justin, brought to you by Sprite Cranberry and Coffee.